Hello everybody, this is Bitcoin Macro, and on this video guys I'm going to talk about the listing of Polkadot and Solana on Coinbase, and after that there are going to be some other videos that are going to follow, which are going to be about some of the more recent listings on Coinbase, actually the ones that are coming. Plus I'm going to make a video about Bitcoin, what I think of the current situation. Plus on that video I'm going to talk about two nice little alts. I'm not going to tell you which ones are going to be right now, but of course if you want to see them, please click the subscribe button down below. Please also click the bell icon so that you can get a notification. But you can also, guys, follow me on Twitter, on TradingView and Telegram, because I've shared a lot of these setups on there as well. And this is the best place for you to follow me, because I had a little bit of an issue, of a health issue recently. That's why I haven't been sharing a lot of stuff on video, because I didn't really feel like making long videos. To be honest, there haven't been really that many things to talk about, because if I really had a lot of things to talk about, I would have done it, guys. Trust me, there aren't that many alts that I'm interested in. I've explained the situation. I've explained why alts are not as attractive right now, because it kind of feels like either we're gonna go down, so we're gonna have a big drop in the entire market, or it's going to be mainly Bitcoin going up on its own. So I'm not sure yet, because Bitcoin is still battling between 31 and 41k. Like I said before, I'm going to talk about this on a separate video, but of course all that affects the current situation, even for Coinbase listings, because I think people have mistakenly thought that no matter when an altcoin gets listed on Coinbase, and regardless of its size, it's going to pump. But what I have noticed, and pretty much many people have noticed before as well, is that many coins after a listing, they might go up, but they would go up and potentially go up a lot if the trend was up. If the trend of the coin was down, the coin might potentially have like a little blip, like a little pump, and then it will just continue down again. But the key thing to remember is that we can keep these listings in our mind. We can just like take mental notes or actual notes, and remember to buy those coins when the time actually comes, because in my opinion, it's good to keep track of coins that in the previous alt season, they didn't pump much, or they were not listed on major exchanges. So the more exchanges list some of these coins after the alt season, and if those coins haven't done as well, then potentially these coins will do very well in the next alt season. But if those coins have done so well, then maybe it's not as good to buy those ones next time around. So I'm going to start with Polkadot. Although Solana was actually meant to be listed many days before Polkadot, because there was an issue with some APIs or something, so they were not able to actually list it, and that's why actually Polkadot was listed before it, and it's actually already trading on Coinbase Pro. Now Solana deposits are active, but trading is not active yet. But of course, I'm just trying to give you guys all the information before that happens. So when I'm looking at Polkadot right now, I'm not really getting a very clean picture, because Polkadot is kind of trapped in this strong resistance zone, because when you have something be support for so long and then that breaks, and we've also had the same area about 31 to 33, and then same thing with 20.6 all the way up to potentially 29, which was also the monthly pivot over here, then that's not a very good area to be thinking so much about like getting long, because of course, yes, there is a bit of support here, but it's not like this support is the perfect support, because it has also been tested several times. Now we can see some key areas below at about $10 and about $6, where if the price goes all the way down to those levels, it will be an incredible buy. Potentially that's quite far away. I think for that to happen, Bitcoin would have to drop substantially, maybe even to go all the way down to 18k. But of course, I don't want to say that right now. Now, if Polkadot starts dropping down to $15, then potentially I think it would just bounce up to $19, $20, and then slowly go down once again. I don't really expect a very big crash this time around, because we have seen a major crash. There has been a major deleveraging event, so I don't really think we're gonna have something as big as the one that we had before, except if we have some major news. Now, of course, maybe it's just very rapid. If we start breaking below 31k for Bitcoin, maybe we do get a bit of a crash, but then I do expect it to kind of slow down again. I don't really expect it to be as violent as the one that we had in the middle of May. Now, if we just have a look at the Polkadot BTC chart, I do believe that this is not looking great, because although it's back at support, we have tested this support so many times that it just kind of feels a little weird. So all I would say is potentially there would be a bounce, because with the listing on Coinbase Pro, we might get a little bit of action. But then at the end of the day, I do believe that this level right here at about 30,000 satoshis, 32,000 satoshis, it's going to be tested eventually. Now after that, maybe the price does a little bit of a chop in this area and then goes higher again. But in my opinion, like with most other alts, it would probably mean that we need a few more months before an alt season is back on again. At least that's versus Bitcoin. Now, if Bitcoin goes up, maybe things are a little better, maybe things are different. But if Bitcoin keeps going down, then potentially the alt season might even need a little less time. And the reason why, and it might sound counterintuitive, is that if Bitcoin goes down and alts also go down in Bitcoin terms, and they keep on falling, maybe everything bottoms a little faster, so we might get a little mini alt season in between. Just don't be mistaken with every single altcoin bounce that this is going to be an alt season, because either we're going to have a Bitcoin pump or, you know, we're going to have everything dumping. At least that's my opinion. I don't really see a way how alts would have a major rally from here. Now, for me, Polkadot might have some pretty good pump, at least might have a very nice pump eventually, at least when the actual mainnet goes live with parachains and so on, because Kusama, which is the canary in the coal mine, is like the canary network where you have everything being tested live on Kusama, which is like the Polkadot testnet, but not actually a testnet. It's something more than that, because it's actually a proper network on its own. It has like an interesting synergy. I'm not a massive fan of that kind of thing, where you have a live network that has that's worth billions of dollars. That's actually a testnet. But if that's the way they want to be moving things, and that's the way they're acting, that's fine with me, even though I'm not a fan. And that means that if things go well with Kusama, then potentially that could launch on Polkadot as well. And if parachains do take off and they do go well, this could be pretty big for Polkadot, okay? Because that's actually the main thing about Polkadot, and that's the main selling thing, because currently Polkadot doesn't really have anything on it. It's not like Matic or BNB, the Binance chain, or Ethereum and so on, or even Solana, which is actually live and running. So having spoken about Solana, just having spoken about it, let's have a look at how Solana is looking like, because to me, it does look a little bit better than Polkadot, okay? It's looking like it hasn't really gone below any key support level yet, although it has been rejected a little bit at the main point of control on the volume profile right here, and it's kind of below the 50-day moving average. It's still flirting with it, and it's still holding relatively strong close to it. It's been chopping around it, and it's also above the monthly pivot, which is actually bullish, because even here you can see that Solana has had a mini uptrend, although it's not perfect, although maybe you can see that it has been broken a little bit over here. It's still like it hasn't really broken down. It's been going sideways, and it's more in a little bullish uptrend because it's still holding above this key level right here. Okay, now if I could draw this line, this level is at $37.5, and as long as this is holding, yes, Solana could have a little pump, especially as it's getting listed on Coinbase. Also, Solana got a major funding round by many big investors, about 300-400 million. To me, like I've said it many times before, all these projects are pretty centralized. Like you have to centralize some things to get efficient. Okay, so in order to get all those transactions, in order to get all those things on chain, on the base protocol, you have to sacrifice decentralization. So I'm not a big fan, but If people want to trust more centralized chains, then that's fine with me once again. And to me, the fact that people actually like it and there is so much hype behind it, it's definitely something to think about, and definitely something that I would want to put some of my money, at least for short-term trades. It doesn't mean that I'm a believer long-term. However, I do see a lot of potential when it comes to trading these things. And especially with Solana, because of the delay with Coinbase and all that stuff, I do believe, because it's a smaller project as well than Polkadot, at least in terms of size. Maybe now they're more equivalent, as Polkadot was much larger at some point, but Solana kept growing. In my opinion, Solana is relatively small compared to other projects still, and that's why, along with Matic, Solana and Matic have been able to kind of grow slowly, and they have been able to kind of match with the quote-unquote fundamentals of the other projects, because in my opinion, those fundamentals are a little weird right now because you're such early stage, but because of all the adoption these projects are getting and all the attention, I think it does make sense for them to grow a little bit, and they're still relatively cheap to other projects. Now, of course, it doesn't mean that both of them didn't get kind of oversold, or overbought, because even if I look let's say if I look at Solana BTC, it has grown quite a bit, okay? So it's at a pretty elevated level right now, not as much as Matic, I would say. At least the gains were not as large, but it's also one that started as a pretty small project. It also had a major unlocking event back in December or January of 2021. So we had a major event where the actual market cap grew substantially. So although this might seem like just a 10x or a 25x growth, this was actually much larger as a whole because of all the additional coins that go in the market. But the structure is still bullish, at least versus Bitcoin. This looks a lot more bullish. Why? Because it's above the 50-day moving average, it's above the monthly pivot. It has also had a little kind of like a double or triple top, as you can see here. So it's still looking relatively bullish because the structure overall does kind of look like it wants to go higher. If it starts breaking below the 50-day moving average, then my opinion would definitely change. So if you want to go long, I wouldn't mind. So as long as it stays as long as it stays above the 50-day moving average and the monthly pivot, I can see it go up to R1, maybe have a little pullback, and then slowly go higher once again. It could be pushing higher even though the rest of the coins are going lower, because of course there are going to be some exceptions, like I said before, like Matic and other coins. Maybe those projects that actually have proper adoption and they have proper attention and their market caps have been undervalued might perform relatively well during a bear market. So there will always be some outliers, so maybe these coins might be some of those, like Solana and Polkadot, maybe just Solana. I'm going to talk about the other ones as well very soon. So as long as it stays above, it could do this. If it starts going below, at least versus Bitcoin now, if it goes down to about 80,000 Satoshis to just test this point of control right here, then kind of pull back, test this resistance again, because this is going to turn into resistance after being support, and then it would potentially go lower and lower and maybe come all the way back down to this green zone. After that, maybe Solana resumes its uptrend, but it's going to take some time. We'll see how things go because it's very early still. In my opinion, it's best to just decide in a few months. Although it might sound like a really long time, maybe things just really accelerate to the downside if Bitcoin dumps, because if Bitcoin goes down and it happens in a very rapid fashion, then that will give us a very clear indication of where we might be heading next after that. Because if the dump happens quickly, then it means that things are very cheap. So just picking up some stuff when Bitcoin is around 18K might be a good idea. But for now, just remember that Bitcoin has a lot more stuff going for it. MicroStrategy buying, countries potentially will adopt Bitcoin first before going into DeFi or anything else. So I would suggest that you just focus on Bitcoin mainly and then start thinking about everything else. So that's it from me, guys. Thanks a lot for watching. Please remember to like, subscribe and share the video. Also leave a comment down below because it definitely helps. Also let me know what you think, if you have any information on those projects. And of course, like I said earlier in the video, you can also follow me on Twitter, TradingView and Telegram, where you can get live updates from what I'm thinking at that time. So once again, thanks a lot for watching, guys, and I'll see you on the next one.